What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you yet another BT6 deck list. Today we're going to be having the Security D-Brigade list that I had on the channel a few days ago. Now before we get into the list, I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Joe, aka Playgoo, who did get second at the EUGP with a Security D-Brigade list very similar to this, and he knows that I love D-Brigade, so he sent me the list, and I've been trying to test it on TTS and whatnot. The unfortunate part is that there are starter deck cards in that list, and we don't have starter decks legal here in the States yet, so I had to adapt this to be pre-starter deck. Now, there aren't a lot of changes that you would make post-starter deck, so I will mention those if you do have the starter decks and want to play a deck very similar to this. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into this list. Starting off with the Digitama, we are going to have 4 Pagumon and 1 Sumamon. Now, Pagumon is going to be very, very powerful in this list. Having it so that your Commandromons go down and then search the top card is going to be very, very important, especially if you have the rare Commandromon, meaning that you can search the top deck, top card with the Pagumon and then search the next 3 for the Commandromon, adding a card to your hand and replacing a Digimon on board. So this card is extremely powerful. You definitely want to be playing this at 4, and you will likely be playing this egg for quite some time in black decks, especially the D-Brigade. And then we're going to have the 1 Sumamon over the Missymon here because unless you have the Sealsdramon on top of a Missymon, the boost isn't really going to matter. As for with the Sumamon, you're going to have so many Commandromons on board that you're going to be consistently getting a 2k DP boost, especially if you put the 5k DP Commandromon on top of here. It's going to become a 7k DP Commandromon, meaning that it can swing over pretty much every single blocker or even swing over some suspended champions, making it a very, very powerful tool. Now, it's not as powerful as the Pagumon because the Pagumon is a lot of resource, but having the consistent 2k DP boost is going to be very good. A little bit better than having the 1k DP boost from Missymon, so I do like the Sumamon in these lists a little bit better. Now, getting into the Commandromon, we are going to have the full 16. So starting off with the rare Commandromon, what is probably the best Commandromon. This one does, on deletion, essentially replace itself with the Commandromon. Obviously, this can whiff because you only reveal the top 3, but the thing is with 16 Commandromon, you're going to very consistently be hitting this, so it's going to replace itself. Then we're going to be having the 2-drop Commandromon. This one is very good. It's a Commandromon that only costs 2-drop. We know that 2-drop rookies are very powerful. We've all seen them in Rookie Rush and seen their power. Now, obviously, it is in a 2k 5-drop or a 2-drop 5k, but that's not that big of a deal. Being able to have a Commandromon for 2-drop is very powerful, especially if you have another Commandromon with the Sumamon underneath it, because you can play this Commandromon for 2 and give one of your other Commandromon a 2k DP boost. Then we're going to have the 5k Commandromon. This one is very good to play for free off of the rare Commandromon, and also probably the best one to have on top of the Sumamon over here, because then it becomes a 7k. So it's essentially a champion level Digimon as far as DP, with just being a rookie. And then we're going to have the 4 blocker Commandromon. Having the ability to play a blocker for free from your rare Commandromons is very good, but also being able to have a blocker that can attack without having to pay memory to attack is very powerful. But with that being said, you want to play the full 16 Commandromons in a D-Brigade list so for consistency, so there's not much else to say here. Now getting into some more rookies, we're going to play 2 of the Currymon here. Now this card standalone is fairly weak, but it does have a lot of upsides. One being the security trigger. Being able to de-digivolve 1 is very powerful, because if you're playing against bond decks like Bond of Friendship, for example, if they hit this, you can just go ahead and de-digivolve it, and then they're not going to have those extra checks coming in. But also, if you put this on top of one of your Pagumon eggs and swing, it is almost guaranteed to be deleted because it is only 1k DP, so you can use this as a recycler by swinging in with Pagumon. It will go down, and then you can flip the Pagumon. If you hit a Digimon, you can add it to your hand. So although this card is fairly weak on its own, in security and paired with the Pagumon, it is very powerful. We're only playing it at 2, so we don't clunk it up in hand, because like I said, having just a 3-drop 1k Digimon by itself isn't that great, but paired with the other parts of the deck, it is pretty powerful. And then finishing off the rookies with 2 Chewmons. Now, cards like these are going to be very staple in BT6 because of the memory boost. Also, because Bond of Friendship is so powerful, being able to shut off Hammer Sparks is going to be very key. So we're going to be playing this for 2 for consistency. There aren't a lot of room for more rookies outside of the D-Brigade, so we are just going to play the 2 Currymon and the 2 Chewmons. But if you wanted to cut the Currymons for more Chewmons or cut the Chewmons for more Currymons, you could. But I do think that the ability to shut off your opponent's memory gain is going to be very, very key to your success with this deck. Now we're going to go ahead and have 4 of the Sealsdramon here. Now, in a lot of other D-Brigade lists, I usually say I don't like playing the 4 Sealsdramon as much because you normally want to be going aggressive and attacking, but since this is a security style list, the Sealsdramons are absolutely insane in this list. Being able to have a 6k blocker that is also a D-Brigade is going to be very good for slowing down the game, but also having a blocker D-Brigade incentivizes it being deleted and going to the trash, which means that it supports your Dartramons a little bit better. So Sealsdramon, although is pretty stable in most D-Brigade's deck, is a lot better in this style list than it is with more aggressive style lists. Next up, we're going to have 4 of the Nanimon here. Now, if you are playing the starter decks, then you will just cut this for the Cordramons here, because the Cordramons are going to be a little bit better. They are 5k, they do draw 2, so the effects are going to be a little bit better. But if you don't have the starter decks, the Nanimons are going to be good. They are going to be a little bit better than the other security Digimon that you can play, like the Garurumon, because it is a 3-drop, so that way you can play this for minimal memory if it is in your hand and have another Digimon on board. You don't really want to be Digivolving on top of your other Commandramon with this as much, unless you need to get the cycle. So being able to play this card for just 3, which is fairly cheap, and then have an extra Digimon to swing in on board is going to be good. So I do like the Nanimons over the Garurumons, but if you do have the starter decks, you just want to cut these for the Cordramons. Next up, we're going to have 4 Dartramons. Now, in a lot of my D-Brigade lists, I normally just play the 3 Dartramons, but in this specific list, you're going to want to be playing more because it is a slower list, meaning that with other D-Brigade lists, you're probably only going to be playing 1 Dartramon per game. In this list, you're going to play 2, maybe even 3 Dartramons per game, depending on what kind of matchup that you're in. So having the 4 is going to be higher consistency, but having the 4 is also going to be important because we are playing the 4 Zwart defeats in this list. So having something to make it so you can play your Zwart defeats and have them clunk a little bit less is going to be important. So having the 4 for consistency is going to be very, very key here. Then we're going to have 2 Magnadrumon. This card is going to be very good since it is a security style list, especially in the bond meta, because the bonds are going to go in for high security swing turns, and then they're going to die at the end of the turn. So being able to restabilize with Magnadrumon and be able to get some more security triggers in your security, such as Iron Fisted Onslaught or Zwart Defeat, is going to be very good. So I found the 2 Magnadrumons be very good. I like playing it at 2 for higher consistency, because if you do something like Pagumon or Commandramon and you hit this and it goes to the bottom and you only play 1, well, then you're out of luck because you're not going to be able to play another one for the rest of the game. As to where with 2, even if 1 goes to the bottom, you still have another one to play later in the game, or at least have the potential to hit. So I want to be playing 2 here. Now, as I alluded to earlier, we are playing the 4 Zwart defeats here. Now, this card can be a little bit clunky, obviously, because it is a 15k or a 15 drop level 7. But the thing is it is a security trigger, so it can come out for free. Especially with the Magnadrumons, you have a higher chance of getting them in your security. But it is a 3 to Digivolve level 7, which is very, very cheap for level 7. So you can put them on top of your Dartramons, pop one of your opponent's Tamers for very cheap, and then give your opponent minimal memory while having a big Digimon on board. And having the ability to delete Tamers is very good in this meta because we have the bonds, so being able to pop your opponent's tire mat is very good, but also being able to just pop memory Tamers is always going to be very valuable. And then of course we have the on deletion of making it so you can pop whatever your opponent's Digimon no matter what. So this card is very, very good on board. Once you get it on board, it's a huge offensive presence, and it's very hard for your opponent to get rid of because normally they don't want to get rid of it because you can just pop their level 6 for free or whatever they have on board. So the 4 Zwart defeats can be a little bit clunky, but you got to play it for the consistency of it. Now, getting into our Tamers, we are going to be playing 4, so we're going to start off with our 2 Izzy. You want to be playing Memory Tamers in this list because you need to be starting your turn at 3, so that way you can play your Dartramon for 3 and have it still be your turn. And so Izzy is going to be the best one in my opinion because it also allows you to rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck, making it so that way you can put your Commandramons in a way to where when you swing in with your rare Commandramon, you can guarantee that you're going to hit a Commandramon off of that and recycle it. So Izzy's going to be very good. It's also a Memory Tamer that can sometimes be played for 3 because if you reveal the top 3 and they're all black, you gain a memory. So unlike most Memory Tamers, which are guaranteed to be a 4-drop, this one can potentially be a 3-drop, so Izzy's just going to be very powerful. Then we're going to have 1 Izzy and Joe. Now this card is just very, very powerful because 1, it's a consistency card because if one of your Commandramon or any of your black Digimon go down, you can go ahead and suspend this and draw for 1. And then also it has the ability to gain 2 memory if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play. And it's going to be very, very easy to gain the memory off of this because most people are going to want to be going wide with their boards and have at least 2 or more Digimon on board. So I found this card to be very, very consistent. It is also a pseudo memory tamer in a way just because, like I said, you are going to be gaining this 2 2 memory so much that even if your opponent puts you at 1, you will go up to 3. So I found the Joe to be good. I only put it at 1 though because you only have X amount of room for Tamers in this list, and I find this Izzy to be a little bit better, so this is just a nice little tech. And then to finish off, we are playing the Ty and Matt here. Whenever you're playing a list that plays 4 Zwart defeats, I find this card to be very staple. One, because you get those extra checks in, but also it is more memory. And when you're playing a lot of high cost cards like we are in this list and our options, you want to be having as much memory as possible. So being able to pair these two with the Izzies makes it so you can gain a lot of memory, and you can play these high cost cards like Ultimate Flare or Iron Fisted Onslaught and put your opponent at minimal memory. And so this is the Tamer lineup I like. You could potentially cut the Ty and Matt if you don't like this card, but like I said, when you're having the 4 Zwart defeats, it gives you a lot of offensive pressure while also punishing your opponent for having level 6s. Now getting into our options, we are going to be playing the 4 Ultimate Flare. This is pretty standard. Since we are playing a security style list, you want to be hitting these in security, and being able to de-digivolve one of your opponent and then board clear is very good, especially in Bond meta, because they are going to be just warping from a rookie to a level 7. So if you hit this, you can de-digivolve it and then potentially clear the board, especially with the Bond decks being primarily rookie rush focused. The Ultimate Flare is going to be very, very important. So we want to play this at 4 for ultimate consistency. Now it might be a little bit clunky in your hand because it is an 8-drop option, and if you get a couple of them there, it can feel pretty bad. But like I said, with the other Tamers that we play, you can gain a lot of memory and play these cards without and put your opponent at minimal memory, but you need the 4 here for maximum consistency. Then we're going to play 3 of the Iron Fisted Onslaught. I only play 3 here because we are playing the 4 Ultimate Flare, and I figured playing 8-drop spells or options is going to be a little bit too much and a little too clunky, and I do find the Ultimate Flare to be a little bit more powerful. Now obviously Iron Fisted Onslaught has its cases where it's really good. For example, like the 3 Musketeers, when your opponent has a couple Beelstarmons or whatever on board, you can pop them all, and so that's going to be very good. But I do think the Ultimate Flare is going to be a little bit better, so I decided to play 4 there and 3 here. Now this card is still very good, so you do want to be playing it, and you will likely be seeing a lot of this card in the future just because of the sheer power of it, but we're just going to play it at 3 so we don't clunk too much. And then we are going to be playing the 1 Dark Roar to finish. Now this card is a little bit weaker than the other options we have, but it is really cheap, and it has the ability to pop blockers, which is something that I like. Obviously you can pop other things besides blockers, but in my experience I found that most of the time when you're playing this, you're going to be popping a blocker so that way your Commandromons can get through without getting blocked. But it is also just a nice card to pop smaller things like maybe an Agumon or a Gabumon on your opponent's side of the board so they can't threaten to go to Bond. But it is just fairly cheap opposed to our other giant costed options. But with that being said, that is going to finish off this list. Once again, big shout out to my boy Joe for sending me the skeleton of this list and then letting me adapt it to the pre-starter deck meta. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow for some more Digimon TCG content. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.